Am I the a-hole for not letting my fiancé's friend come to the wedding? My fiancé and I were planning our wedding, and he passed over his guest list, and a name stuck out to me. It was my middle school and high school bully. He threw spitballs at me and put rotting food in my desk, so all the other kids would think it was me. He also had a shellfish allergy, and could be around shellfish but not eat it. So he knew I heated up shellfish in the microwave, and would stand in front of me not letting me get to the microwave telling me I was making him sick, and then get all his friends to harass me. Even when I wasn't bringing shellfish, he would tell me I had a fishy smell to me, and even once called it a dirty Chinese smell. He also made a slanted eyes racist joke in front of me regularly. I told my fiancé this and made it clear there's no way I'm letting this guy come, and he defended him basically saying everyone was an a-hole in high school and we were adults now, so I should forgive and forget. His friend was apparently a family friend's son, so if he wasn't coming, neither were they. He then, without telling me, brought his guy to meet me one day, and he apologized, claiming he didn't remember anything, but apologized for anything he did to me. I told him to buzz off and to get off my lawn. My fiancé is furious with me for being rude to his friend, and we had a screaming fight about it where he said he wasn't taking his friend off the list, and I told him he can get married to him instead. Now for the top comments. Info: why are you getting married to this guy? I'm having a hard time remembering. Why instead of not allowing the friend to attend a wedding, you don't attend yourself? Maybe your fiancé can get married to your friend. The I don't remember part got me. Invite him, then serve shellfish. Yeah, then Obi can not remember he has a shellfish allergy. Why is this guy so important to your fiancé? Please ask your fiancé this. He is the son of a family friend who babysat him sometimes as a child. That's the reason. He really wants his old babysitter and family friend to be there, and she will only come if they invite her whole family. I don't want her there either, because the principal talked to her often about her son's activities and she never did anything about it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife it would be controlling and inappropriate for her to try and change how my family does Christmas? My wife and I rotate who we spend Christmas with, so 1 year her family and 1 year mine. I don't love doing it with her family, and she isn't a big fan of my mother. Please don't tell us to do it as a nuclear family. We both hate that idea. Our families are pretty different. Her family's much more about the kids. Even the dinner is tailored more to what kids like. Bland in my opinion, but I would never say that. The kids each get 1,000 gifts and spend Christmas running around my mother-in-law's house, making a huge ruckus. Christmas with my family is amazing food, though we usually have to pack our toddler her own meal. A more relaxed atmosphere, and my mom doesn't get any of her grandkids gifts. I don't know her exact reasoning. She says that only the nuclear families should buy gifts, though she does get me and my 2 sisters something, but gives it to us about a week in advance. My kids don't know that she does that. My mom encourages the kids to play in another room so the adults can talk, but me and my wife put our foot down because these kids are just too young. To be clear, we exchanged gifts at home before going, but my wife just finds it really weird that no one in the family buys for other people's kids. It has nothing to do with my mom being frugal or anti-materialism. My mom and stepdad go all out for each other. Anyway, it is our year to do Christmas with my side, and my wife came to me and proposed suggesting to the family that we only buy for kids and make Christmas more kid-friendly. I told her she really has no right to tell my mom how to spend her money, and that would not go over well with my very child-free sister. Other sister has kids as well. She said she feels that Christmas is supposed to be this magical time for the kids, and my mom and stepdad and child-free sister and brother-in-law have their anniversaries, birthdays, and Valentines to spoil each other. She said she just really hates how much Christmas is about the adults in my family, and it makes her sad. I said her points are totally valid, but it would be controlling and inappropriate to try and change how my family's always done things, and she would definitely offend my mom. She said I'm putting my mom's feelings ahead of hers and she just wants to bring it up, and she doesn't like that I used the word controlling. I am definitely a bigger fan of your wife's idea of how Christmas should be spent than your family's, but house traditions are house traditions. It just sounds boring as hell for those kids, and they'll always be comparing the fun side of the family to the boring old side, but they aren't being mistreated or anything. Not an a-hole for doing things different, though I'm not inclined to call your wife an a-hole for making the suggestion. If she made it a demand, then she'd be an a-hole. Agree, it's a no a-hole situation. The wife is a member of the family now and has the right to offer ideas and suggestions. Opie, as an original member of that family, can and should communicate with his wife about whether her suggestions are a good fit for his side. Nobody did anything wrong here. Soft, everyone sucks here, except your wife. Not centering Christmas 100% around the children is one thing, but your family sounds like it doesn't include the children at all. Send them to another room? No presents? And they don't even get a single special holiday meal. How hard is it to make a mac and cheese dish? Put an orange, some chocolate, and a book in a stocking, and set up a game, arts, and craft activity or a movie for the kids? Honestly, if I was your wife, I wouldn't bother going to your family's Christmas. Your wife and child are a part of your family too, and if they aren't included in the celebration, then Christmas and family don't sound like they go together in your family. Your family does things a certain way. Your wife doesn't like it and suggested a change, which is reasonable. She's part of the family too. You aren't an a-hole for telling her it won't go over well, and your family doesn't have to change, but making her feel bad about a reasonable request is an a-hole move. I think now you have children, there is nothing wrong with suggesting some minor changes to Christmas. Traditions change as families change. I think there will come a point where one of the children tells grandma how boring her Christmas is, and that will not be fun. Everyone sucks here. She has been told that she is boring. I was pretty mortified, but she didn't seem to care. We had a talk with my daughter about how it is okay to think those things, but sometimes saying something hurts people's feelings. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for going to my parents' house and leaving my fiancé at home after she said she wanted to bring her own food to Thanksgiving? Me and my fiancé, both 20s, have been together for 3 years and had a long-distance relationship. This is supposedly her first Thanksgiving with my family. My mom invited us to attend Thanksgiving dinner, and when I told my fiancé about the invitation, she asked about what was prepared for dinner. And I said the traditional dishes every home prepares, and she made a face and said she'll accept the invitation and go, but will bring her own cooked food with her. I was shocked. I asked why, because as far as I know, she's not allergic nor vegan, and she hasn't even tried my mom's cooking. She said that it's just her choice, and wanted to eat something else to add new flavor for Thanksgiving, since she was always forced to eat the same old traditional meals every year by her family. I was mad. I told her it'd be disrespectful of her as a first-time guest at our family's Thanksgiving, but she said it was better than telling my mom to cook other dishes specifically for her. I told her no, she cannot bring food with her, and if she insists, then she needs to stay home and not come with me, because I'm not about to let her fed my mom's cooking. She got all dramatic, almost crying, saying I was being controlling and that I should just let her come and bring her own food, instead of overreacting like that. I stood my ground and she kept saying she wanted to bring food, and that she wasn't willing to go hungry to please my mom. I had it at this point, and got ready to go over to my parents who live hours away. I got in the car with my stuff and left her behind crying, then started calling me saying I should not have went and left her alone at home, and that I was wrong for making this my hill to die on, and causing her to miss my mom's invite. I'm at my parents' house right now. I made up some excuse as to why my fiancé didn't come, but I'm still bothered by what happened, especially when she keeps guilting me for leaving her behind, calling me selfish jerk, and whatnot. Edited to add, oh yeah, she was actually planning on bringing an entire cooked meal. So, I wasn't just talking about some side dishes to share with the family. That would have been a different story. It would have been perfectly acceptable, gracious even, for her to bring a side dish or two, so long as you cleared that with your mom ahead of time. But to pre-cook and bring her whole meal and not eat your mother's food at all is rude. There's something more going on here than she's sharing with you. I wish that she'd bring some side dishes or desserts. But no, she wanted to bring cooked food just for herself. This stuff is highly disrespectful to my family. Homegirl sounds really whiny, toxic, and manipulative. Might want to rethink who you spend the rest of your life with. Just saying. Not a-hole, but don't expect that you'll save this relationship. What the heck is your fiancé thinking? She has no dietary restrictions, but feels that she needs to impose her vision on a meal she's invited to? This feels like a power play. This feels like a test to force you to choose her over your family. Nope, right the heck out of that. You passed the test, by the way. She is the one who failed you. She's the selfish one. Like there is some serious Darvo stuff here. Not a-hole. This isn't her last meal on Earth, or the only food she'll be able to eat for the rest of her life. This is one meal that someone is generously making to share with loved ones. If you're not a huge fan, you eat a minimal amount and then have a big dessert. Stop at Burger King on the way home. Jam a PB&J in your coat's pocket to eat in the car. Next story. Am I the a-hole for sending my boyfriend's brother home? I, 28 female, work for my parents. Maybe you can see where this is going. We live in a little town in the middle of nowhere. My parents run a little mom-and-pop grocery shop that everyone loves. It is a family-owned store, and I am a manager here. We don't usually have issues. My boyfriend's Ryan, 27 male, little brother, 22 male, recently moved in with him due to disputes between him and his parents. Kane has always been rowdy, so I think his parents just got fed up with his behavior, but I really don't know. Ryan told him he could stay with him, but he'd need to get a job because there was no way he could provide for both of them on a salary. Well, none of the places hiring the area wanted Kane. At least he claims he applied and just never got calls back. So, Ryan asked me to swing a job for him here. I didn't like the idea, but we hired Kane on 4 months ago. In that time, I've caught Kane napping in the employee lounge on his break, but an hour longer than allotted. I caught him vaping in the cooler, and multiple times I found him standing around talking to friends about the work he was meant to be doing without actually doing it. The final straw was 4 days ago. Kane clocked in, found me, and asked me what he should do. I told him his job for the day. He said okay and disappeared. 30 minutes later, I saw him nowhere in his area. I went to the employee lounge and saw him sitting at the table eating and on his phone. I asked him what he was doing. He said eating. I asked him if he carted out for break. He rolled his eyes at me and said, "No, I was just grabbing a bite to eat quick." I asked him how long he was back here for, and he said, "I don't know, I just bought it and came back." I told him to let me see his receipt, and sure enough, it was stamped for about 5 minutes after he clocked in. I said, "Kane, we needed you on the floor." He mocked me. "Kane, we need you on the floor." I was really not in the mood for it, so I asked him how badly he needed this job. He said, "Well, if I'm not working, I can stay with Ryan, duh." I said, "Exactly. Kane, go home. You're not needed today, and don't come in tomorrow." He laughed at me like I was joking until he noticed I wasn't moving, wasn't smiling, wasn't laughing. Then he just said no. And I told him that either he leaves right now or he can continue sitting there without getting paid, because I was done letting him fool around. A few more words exchanged, and then he went home. After my shift, I got a call from my Ryan snapping at me for sending Kane home. I told him I was tired of letting his brother get away with doing whatever just because of who he is. Ryan told me that I was being an a-hole because I know he can't support him and his brother, and that there was no way he could send Kane back home because their parents wouldn't take him. I told him I'm not going to let my parents pay someone for goofing off constantly, and this is where we still are today. Added to clarify some common questions. Ryan was made aware of the things Kane did under my employment, and usually right as they happened, so it's not like he didn't know Kane was on thin ice. Kane was fired, yes. Kane was reprimanded / talked to every time I caught him doing something he shouldn't have been doing. Now for the comments. Not today, home. Maybe Kane will have a nice encouraging pep talk with his brother tonight. You absolutely did nothing wrong here. I agree, and would let boyfriend know to stay the hell out of it or he will be supporting a deadbeat brother and he won't have a girlfriend. This is more than a Kane issue. This is also a Ryan issue. Ryan has enabled his brother and constantly taking his side regardless of knowing his brother's penchant for being rowdy. Doesn't even take into consideration how his brother is unprofessional. Opie's trying to run a business, not a daycare. Considering his behavior during work and attitude, I'd say it was fair for you to send him home. Just because he's your boyfriend's brother doesn't mean he doesn't have to work or make you obligated to take care of him. He was lucky that he even got a job at yours in the first place, and he completely blew it. That's on him, not you. I mean, Opie's literally the daughter of the owners. If she's expected to work hard and not slag off, why does Kane think he can expect some special treatment for being the brother of Opie's boyfriend? Kane isn't your problem. At 22, he should start acting like an adult. No one should be taking care of him. Yeah, I even forgot that Kane was 22 and I was reading the rest of the story. Dude sounds like a 14 to 16-year-old. Now for the last story. Would I be the a-hole for eating with my friend rather than my family for Thanksgiving? Every Thanksgiving, my parents usually invite my aunts and uncles and their friends for the dinner. My siblings 16, 10, 13, and I 18 are never allowed to eat with the grown-ups. Would have to stay in our rooms until the grown-ups either leave or go to sleep if they're staying over. Would get the leftovers, and to be honest, it's kind of boring. One of my friends from high school's parents are throwing a Thanksgiving dinner. I told my friend about how Thanksgiving was at my house, so she invited me to eat with her family. At first, I wasn't sure because I didn't want to be rude and intrude, but her mom messaged me last night and basically said I'm more than welcome to come. It's quite last minute and I doubt anything is going to change. One of my aunts are coming in an hour and my mom's already telling us to stay upstairs. Would I be the a-hole for celebrating Thanksgiving with my friend? You get the leftovers? Not an a-hole and your family's a massive red flag. That is so messed up. And they aren't even allowed to leave their rooms until everyone leaves. Not celebrating Thanksgiving would be an improvement for these kids. What? Not an a-hole. In any way, shape, or form. I'm not American, so we obviously don't celebrate Thanksgiving here. But from what I know about Thanksgiving, your family gathers to enjoy each other's company and catch up with family you maybe don't see that often. If your parents effectively tell you you're not allowed to participate at all and have to starve in your room until the grown-ups have eaten and gone to bed, it sounds to me you'd be better off going somewhere you were actually more than welcome. I can see how your parents would be upset with you going somewhere else for Thanksgiving, but to be honest, they brought this on themselves. But if you don't mind me asking, is there any particular reason why the children aren't allowed to join the celebration? I just feel we're missing some background here. And if you don't want to get into it, don't feel compelled to answer. Not gonna lie, the two younger ones are pretty loud, so my mom wants me to watch them. I guess the 13-year-old has to watch as well. That's my guess. Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to change the ownership of the house I bought for my parents? Original post. I, 33, female, owned multiple businesses. I'm not really rich, but since I'm single and childless, I have a lot of spare money. I also saved a lot for my retirement since I don't plan to marry and have children. I'm the youngest of my siblings and the one that made most money. My elder siblings sacrificed a lot for me to get education since my father passed away when I was 17. I'm forever grateful for them. My stepfather, Dan, 68 male, has 10 children with his previous wife. His previous wife passed away from cancer years ago. Dan and my mother, Susan, 58 female, was introduced when I was 20. I don't like his family. His children are all greedy and selfish. In my country, it's our culture to give money to our parents after we started working. Poor Dan was a school principal, but he loaned a lot of money for all his children, making sure they won't be trapped with student debts. In the end, his monthly pension money will be deducted from the bank to pay debts with little left for their expenses. Luckily, my parents have a farm and that helped them to earn money. My step-siblings always ignored him when he asked for money, and my siblings were always the one that said money. My step-siblings will ask for vegetables and chickens from the farm for free. They didn't even go inside Dan's house, which is considered rude. They just took the things they needed and left. They rarely came back to visit them, and when they did, they rarely buy groceries. I worked hard to earn money for my family. I figured if I have money, I could solve all their problems and make their worries and sadness from poverty go away. So, 3 years ago, I bought a house for them and renovated it to their liking. The house is even bigger than my house and Dan's previous house. They can keep their dogs, fishes, chickens, and ducks. Dan is a good person. He helped me and my siblings when we were very poor. I paid for the house maintenance, hired housekeepers, and bought groceries every month. I gave them pocket money every month too. I made sure they would never lack of anything or need to work hard again, and all they need to do is relax in their old age. My step-siblings started to come frequently, stayed there at weekends, and ate the groceries that I bought. All the groceries are high quality. I only buy the best for my parents. Heck, they don't even cook. They expect my mother to cook for them. If not for the 2 housekeepers, my mother will be tired keeping the house clean because all of them are lazy bums. Their children throw snacks on the floor. Me and my siblings appeared amicable with my step-siblings, but we expressed our disapproval behind their backs. We know they do the same. They're two-faced after all. They even ask for some money from my stepfather sometimes, the pocket money that I gave him every month. My stepfather will always give some of his money every time, much to my frustration. They're a chef, accountants, manager, and teachers, mind you. A week ago, I came back alone to my hometown and stayed in my parents' house. I came to see if my parents lacked anything in the house and to see the dogs and 2 cats. 3 of my step-siblings were there, with their family. We all talked for a bit in the living room and then the topic of the house ownership came up. Apparently, my stepbrother thought the house is on Dan's name. I told them the house is still in my name. They got upset and passive-aggressively said I don't trust or care about Dan or my mother. I asked why does it matter since Dan and my mother live a comfortable life and I would never kick them out. Dan, being a passive-aggressive individual himself, shut them out and praised me, saying that I'm not his daughter but still do more. They were offended and went home that night. They have been making passive-aggressive posts about being controlling on Facebook ever since. My siblings made passive-aggressive posts as well. Most of it are mocking quotes about greedy and shameless people. Am I the a-hole for refusing to change the ownership of the house? Does it matter when I managed everything in the house? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. The step beasts want to get a loan on the house, and you messed up their plan. Thank you. They accused me of being controlling, which is ridiculous. The only thing you're controlling is their ability to monetize the home your mom and stepfather live in. They had plans for that money, and it went up in pretty spiraling colored smoke before their eyes. Had it been in his name and he passed first, I guarantee they would have put your mom on the streets within a few months. You're a good person. They are greedy and grateful leeches. Please don't let them bring you down and never let their words take hold. They will always be out for themselves and can't be trusted. Yeah, Opie, you suck for not letting these people take further advantage of your parents. The fact is, if the homes were in Dan's name, they would kick your mom out before your stepdad is even in the ground. I would still add cameras to the property. I'm sure the second your parents aren't in that home, they will descend and take everything not nailed down, and wouldn't put it past them to squat. If I had a power to stop them from coming, I would have done it. Unfortunately, Dan is stubborn. He made a choice to let his children come because that's the only time he sees them. I already installed CCTV in a few areas in the house. Not the a-hole. They're just pissed and hoped you put it in Dan's name so when he dies, they'll get it. It's all about them as always. You were smart to keep it in your name. Otherwise, if it was in Dan's and he passed away first, your mom would end up homeless as they would kick her out. That's what I'm thinking. Dan has his own house. No one lives there for now, so they can take that instead. Can be even worse. Not sure what country you're from, but maybe they could consider putting your father in a care home in a few years and throwing your mom out. One house is not enough. They may want all the houses they can get their grubby paws on. They're sus. Don't ever let them get any advantage or they might just fully show their butts. You're a good kid to your parents. I love how you take care of them. Oh, definitely. They don't want the old house because the house is old and not as nice as the new house. The old house is not renovated and properly maintained. Update. Hello, I know my story is a bit boring, but I will give an update nonetheless. I was planning to visit my parents in my hometown this weekend with my siblings to talk to Dan about my step-siblings' behavior. Turns out, Dan already talked to them in their family group chat. My step-siblings were angry. 6 step-siblings threatened to leave the group chat and stop contacting him. Dan said so be it. They didn't do it. I will make it short. 1. Step-siblings spread rumors about me being someone's sugar baby. My nosy aunt heard about the rumor and told my mother and Dan, telling them how ridiculous the rumor was. 2. Dan snapped in the group chat and disowned them. He kicked 6 of my step-siblings that spread a rumor out of the group chat. 3. The 4 youngest step-siblings remain in the group. Unlike the elder siblings, they lost their mom when they were young, so they see my mother as their mom. Apparently, their elder siblings borrow, meaning coerce, money from them every month. They also decided to go no contact with their elder siblings. Me and my family blocked the 6 greedy demons. Thank you for the encouraging words from previous post. Have a nice day, everyone. Finally, an ending that doesn't make me rage. Trash took itself out. If not for that, this would still be a crap show. Even better, stepdad threw his own a-hole Bayou kids out for being an a-hole to OP. I have the feeling that this one's not done yet. There's still a lot of things that the step-siblings can do that would mess things up. And in less individualistic societies, things are never easy. At least OP and step-parents seem to have their heads and hearts in the right place. As always, laughing out loud at the parasites threatening to go no contact. Oh no, what will Dan do? Kowtow to the parasites? Or respect the stepchild looking after him and his wife? How will this round of F-arounded find out unfold? My mother-in-law is essentially no contact with me. I am purposefully no contact. And I think she believes she's punishing me while I'm just blissfully existing. It's so nice not being roped into crap all the time anymore and having to avoid rocking the boat. Or rather, work on keeping that boat from tipping over. She can drown for all I care. These people want to believe they're so important so badly, and then when it backfires, they're super surprised. No, not having to placate and take abuse isn't a particular hardship. Some people are so full of themselves they think the sun shines out of their behinds. Therefore, not speaking with them is some unbearable punishment. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to my brother's wedding because he didn't want to invite me in the first place? Plus updates. Original post. So for context, I, 21 female, have an older brother, 25 male, who is getting married later this year. We used to be somewhat close when we were growing up, but drifted apart after I met his now fiancé, 24 female. From the start, his girlfriend and I didn't really get along, but I've always kept it civil for the sake of him and my family, so there are no bad feelings between us. Or so I thought. My grandmother called me up about 4 weeks ago to ask if I wanted to go dress shopping with her for the wedding, and I was so confused because I didn't even know my brother was engaged. I thought nothing of it and assumed they didn't mention it because I don't live with my parents anymore, but did find it somewhat strange that no one posted anything about the proposal until I found his girlfriend's private Instagram account on my boyfriend's phone because she blocked me. About a week ago, my mom called me and told me that the invitations were sent out that day and asked if I got mine, because my brother's girlfriend was supposed to give them to my boyfriend since they work at the same company. I said no, and she was very irritated. She called me back after talking to my brother and told me that she's inviting us to the wedding and I don't need an invitation. So I said that I am not going to the wedding without an invite, and that if they didn't want me at the wedding, I don't want to be there. Now, my family is saying I'm the a-hole for not accepting the invitation. My mother inviting me over the phone and saying that I want to ruin her wedding day. So, am I the a-hole? Now, for the top comments before reading the updates. Nope, I sure as heck wouldn't go either in that case. Your mother has every reason to be upset, but with your brother and his wife, not with you. Your mother can't claim you didn't accept the invitation because there was none, and it's not on her to invite you. You weren't invited, and attending the wedding would just put you in a really uncomfortable and awkward position. It would be another matter if, at the very least, your brother had called you to apologize and personally ask you to attend. But he didn't. Maybe he still will, but it's a little too late for that in my opinion. This. Brother doesn't want her there. Whatever the reason, don't go. They'll be unhappy. You'll be unhappy. No good can come of your going. Sounds like mom is trying to play happy family. If you want to solve the problem, then address the problem. Asking everyone to play happy is insulting and cruel. Opie will be sitting there, skin crawling in discomfort. At least that's how I'd feel. That was always one of my mother's lines. I told her when they start paying my bills, I'll start caring what they think. Mom is beefing up with the wrong person. They're beefing with the person they think is most likely to cave. Plus, she only has to deal with one person then, not her son, his fiancé, and possibly fiancé's family. I think she's failing to realize that it's too late. The damage has been done. If fiancé now turns around and says, oopsie, it won't be believed. And if she now sends an invite, OP probably will RSVP no. Not the a-hole, but please ask your parents why you didn't even know your brother was engaged and what the justification is for that. Ask your mom how she would feel if she found out about the engagement from another family member. Frankly, even if I got an invite, by this point I would decline. Now for the first update. Thank you for everyone's comments. I only posted a story today, but I already have the update because it just happened a few hours ago. My parents and my brother showed up at my house. Luckily, my boyfriend was home too. Oh, and I'm so not going to the wedding. This is what happened. My brother's fiancé does indeed not want me at the wedding. My parents and brother are trying to convince her to invite me. No thanks, not after everything. They came to our house to tell me I should apologize to my brother's girlfriend. I was totally fine with it. I only wanted to know what it was I was apologizing for, which is where I might be the a-hole. They told me that they couldn't tell me what it was, but that it happened 2 years ago when future sister-in-law and I used to work together at the same company. I tried to find out what it was, but they wouldn't tell me. My boyfriend got a bit upset about everything and told them that if they can't even tell me what I did wrong, he sees no reason for me to apologize. My brother then let us know that he doesn't care if we don't attend, but my grandparents told him if he doesn't invite me, they're also not going, and that's the only reason they want me there. So I decided that I'm not going to the wedding. Me and my boyfriend are going on a trip for the weekend. Not to be petty or anything, we're just going to enjoy ourselves. I really appreciate everyone's positive comments. Apologize. For what? Something from 2 years ago, but we won't tell you what. That is seriously insane, OP. Enjoy your trip. It's a power trip thing. I'd be willing to bet there's no thing from 2 years ago. Fiancé is just pushing the boundaries of what she can manipulate this family into doing. Good on OP for washing her hands off the whole ordeal. Agreed. And the parents going along with the stupidity gives off strong golden child vibes. Good for the grandparents. They should go for a mini vacay that weekend too. Take the grandparents with you. I would contact the grandparents directly, or go see them if you can and tell them exactly what you were told by your parents and brother. If they decide not to attend a wedding, then I would invite them on a weekend trip along with you and your boyfriend. Take them someplace that they would love to see or visit. I did this many years ago when my cousin did not invite several of the other cousins to her wedding. Grandmother refused to attend when she found out. All of the uninvited banded together and took grandmother on a week-long cruise. She had never been out of the state where she lived, and she had a blast. One cousin got us all t-shirts that proudly stated the uninvited on the front, so we all took a photo with the shirts before boarding the ship and posted it on everyone's Facebook pages. The groom did not know that this was all going on, and he almost called off the wedding. They split about 2 years later once he learned how petty his bride could be. I love that idea, totally inviting them with us. Sweetie, please go ahead and enjoy your mini vacation. Never allow anyone to gaslight you into doing their biddings. There's absolutely no economical benefit of attending the wedding. Not the a-hole. Second update. So my grandparents actually called me the following morning asking if I got invited to the wedding. I said no, and they were so mad. Turns out, my grandparents were paying for the wedding. My brother told everyone he was paying for everything himself, but nope. My grandparents are now not paying for the wedding, after a future sister-in-law also refused to tell them what she is upset about. My parents have stepped up to cover the rest of the wedding expenses, and my grandparents, my boyfriend and I will be enjoying a great weekend. Thank you to everyone's comments and advice. I really appreciate it. My parents have stepped up to cover the rest of the wedding expenses. Your parents freaking suck. Your brother is excluding you from his wedding. He won't tell you why. And not only are your parents okay with it, they're stepping up and helping pay for the wedding? Gross. I tell the parents to buzz off, since your grandparents are being more parental than your actual parents are capable of. Well, now Opie knows who to cut out of her life. They made it easy for her. Don't you love it when trash takes itself out? Your parents are the a-holes. So when you get married, are they paying for your wedding? Will they demand you invite your brother and future sister-in-law or they won't pay? She can't say what it is you did, but you have to apologize. It must be so petty that if she told, she would in fact be the a-hole. Enjoy the day with your grandparents and your boyfriend. Save yourself the money and grief. To me, I wouldn't even do holidays with them. Your parents picked sides, not you, and they can enjoy the fruits of their labor. Am I the a-hole for telling my kids why we're getting a divorce? Alright, this is messy. Me and my ex-wife got married at 23 and had 3 kids. The 3 kids are 17, 15, and 14. I recently found out my ex-wife has been cheating on me for 3 years. Once I confronted her, she broke down, saying that I was never home and always working. By the way, I worked like that so she could be a stay-at-home mom. I raised my kids to know that cheating is one of the worst things in the world. If you no longer love someone, break up with them. Don't cheat. Even if you have issues with a relationship, work it out or leave them. Now, before we sat them down, their mother begged me not to tell them she cheated. I told her that if they ask, I would not lie. She tried to dance around the whole reason for the divorce, citing adult issues. Then our 14-year-old asked why we were getting a divorce, and I told him, flat out, that she cheated on me for 3 years. The mother immediately burst out crying, and all the kids were incredibly angry with her. It's been 3 months, and they still haven't spoken to her, saying she ruined their family and their lives, and that she's a cheater and a liar. She's been coming after me online saying that I'm a bastard and ruined her relationship with her kids. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'm a child of divorce. I would have rather known the truth at the time my parents split than learn it a few years later. Your wife cheated. That is a fact, but she wanted to conceal that fact. That is an unrealistic expectation. Bad news is not a fine wine. It does not improve with age. Her relationship with the children took a backseat to her infidelity the moment she cheated. You owe her nothing, especially lying to protect her. Absolutely this. I still don't know what split up my parents 30 years ago. Not the a-hole. If it makes you feel any better, I didn't want to tell my kids I was living in a dead bedroom before my divorce, and my ex-wife made it feel like I was the strange one because I liked kissing and having a physical relationship, and thought I should just accept it. I'm still not sure how you'd tell them that when my oldest was 12 at the time. She's been coming after me online saying that I'm a bastard and ruined her relationship with her kids. Oh my god, the nerve of that woman. She ruined her relationship with them when she decided to cheat on you. 100% not the a-hole. And thank you for being honest with your kids and treating them like adults and not trying to sugarcoat it. They deserve honesty and transparency in this situation too. You didn't ruin anything. She did by cheating. I was the kid in the scenario before. And not once did I think it was my dad's fault for ruining my relationship with her for telling the truth, nor did the slandering from her help. Stand by your kids' close. They'll need it too during this. Even consider family therapy. Not the a-hole. I was a kid in the scenario too, and I knew what my mother was doing. Kids know more than you think they know. My parents decided to stay together though, for my sister and I. So I grew up with an alcoholic mother constantly fighting with my dad. Thankfully now my mom is sober, and my best friend, and they are still married. Things worked out in the end. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepsister she's allowed to be unhappy about her parents' divorce and her dad's remarriage? Last year, my mom married her husband. She and I lost my dad 3 years before, while her new husband was divorced 13 months at that point. I'm the youngest of 3, and my older siblings are both in college. My mom's husband has a 12-year-old daughter, and just like me, this is hard for her. She's still upset about her parents' divorce and isn't happy about her dad marrying my mom. I can say I'm happy for my mom, but not happy overall that we're here, that we were in a circumstance where she needed to remarry. Honestly, I'm not sure I would ever have been ready, so I can't say I would ever make a big deal out of it. She was grumpy last weekend, and her dad was trying to get her to spend some time with my mom. She ended up holding up in her room, and I went to go talk to her. She said I didn't get it, but I told her I didn't love it either. That my feelings were mixed because my mom deserves to be happy and I was happy for her, but I couldn't say it made me happy. I told her it's okay not to be happy. I told her it was okay to be unhappy that her parents divorced and her dad remarried. That our feelings aren't wrong because they're our feelings. I told her it's not abnormal to be unhappy when your parents divorce. That I have friends who still wished their parents had a divorce after more than 10 years. That of course some people won't feel that way too, and it's fine. I told her if she felt like she needed to, she could probably find an adult she trusts to talk to. She ended up talking to her dad, and he and my mom are pissed about what I said to her. They told me it's not okay to be unhappy when your parents are happier, and that I should be happy to have grown my family again after a death. Does what I said make me the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You probably helped the daughter by saying that, and it's simply true. No one should be forced to act happy about a certain thing, especially not when it's divorce and remarriage. The simple fact is that happiness can't be forced. Kiddo would have been feeling unhappy, and then feeling guilty for not feeling happy. That's a rather cruel thing to do to anyone. Not the a-hole. Clearly, you have more emotional maturity than your mom and stepdad in this situation. Your comments are 100% right. Don't feel sorry for feeling this way, or for saying it's a stepsister. Right? 100% OP in my opinion is in the right and not the a-hole. In fact, by acknowledging the feelings, it would be possible to move past them. Your parents are doing a great job making sure she resents the situation forever. Not the a-hole. Your mom and stepdad need to take off their psychedelic glasses and realize their marriage is about them. Stepsister should not be forced to spend time with your mom. I know her dad thinks it will facilitate the bonding process, but at the age you girls are, the happy blended family may never happen. Socially functioning blended family may be the best that can happen. You girls need to build relationships with your step-parents at the pace you feel comfortable with. Good for you for talking to your step. I'm sure it made her feel good that someone understood. Hugs. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for giving my stepson's room to my daughter? I'll try to keep this short. I've been married to my wife for over a year now. Have a stepson, 14 male, and a biological daughter, 9 female. When we married, my wife and I agreed that I would sell my house and move into hers because there's more living space. Stepson already had his own room, so my daughter got the extra bedroom, which is smaller than his. It was fine at first, but my daughter has a lot of stuff, and soon it became too small and cramped for her. Stepson also lives with us part-time, 5 days with us, 9 days with bio dad, and has a huge room at his dad's. My daughter lives with us full-time, so this is her only room. It seemed to me that the logical thing would be for my daughter to have the larger room since she has more stuff and spends all of her time here. Wife was hesitant at first and felt like my stepson would be upset and feel like he's being pushed aside, but I convinced her that my daughter needed a space more, so she ultimately agreed. We ended up switching rooms this week, freshly painted them, and my wife did some shopping for stepson's new room so he'd feel special. He came home from his dad's and we surprised him with his new room. He reacted okay, thanked us for the new stuff and didn't seem upset at first, but now he's been moping and has been cold to all of us. Wife is now regretting our choice and upset at me for convincing her that it would be fine. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole for not discussing with your stepson first. At least give the kid a heads up. Jesus. That's what I was thinking. He's old enough to have discussed this first. Info. Why did you bother to run this by your stepson? I mean, considering he reacted okay, he sounds like a decent kid. But WTF? I'd be pissed if I was just ejected from my room by my stepdad without my input. Even if it was for understandable reasons. You're the a-hole for the surprise alone. The rest of your reasoning makes some sense, but you really disrespected him by doing it this way. This was a beg for forgiveness instead of ask permission kind of scenario. You're the a-hole. Talk about prioritizing one kid over the other. His whole world is changing. His mom is remarrying. He has a new parent and sibling moving in. He has to go back and forth between houses. And you just completely took away safe space to give it to your kid. Now you can't be certain that he doesn't feel like a part of your family. Because when he left for a few days, you took away his room. I feel awful for him. Imagine coming back to that. Surprise! Your room is gone. Your new little stepsister took it. Wow, I feel sick. If you're not ready to parent both kids equally, which it sounds like you're not, please don't move in with this kid. Next story. Am I the a-hole for giving my stepmom a letter from my sister knowing it would upset her and my dad? I, 16 male, lost my sister 5 months ago. She'd had cancer for almost 2 years. She knew she was dying, and before it happened, she wrote a letter telling our stepmom she had never loved her, never wanted her around, and that she was not welcome at her funeral, as well as other stuff my sister didn't tell me about. I knew the idea of the letter was to let our stepmom know she had never grown to love her. She asked me to give it to her before she died, and I did what she asked. I heard nothing about the letter for months, but neither my dad nor stepmom showed up to the funeral, and my dad was talking to me like normal. Then a month ago, he confronted me over it. He asked what kind of stunt it was and how could I be so cruel to someone who was grieving. I told him she had wanted me to give her the letter, that she wrote it and wanted our stepmom to know. I think he was shocked because he seemed to think I wrote the letter or something. Or maybe our mom did, since she and our stepmom always hated each other's guts. My dad was really upset and asked had she always felt that way. I said yes. He stopped the conversation and went back to his place. And it was a week after when he and my stepmom said I was a cruel bastard for doing that to them. That I should have burned the letter and let my sister's last words to my stepmom be something else. My dad told me he was done with me, that I had broken his wife's heart, that I had trampled on 13 years of being our stepmom, all to help my sister's bitterness be the thing that lived on instead of something else. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You did something incredibly hard. The fact that your dad is willing to miss his daughter's funeral and then cut you out after this speaks volumes about what kind of trash dad he is. I'm so sorry for your loss. Dad is a horrendous father, but Dad's sister pulled a super prick move on Opie. Why didn't she pass the letter on herself? Or even ask Opie to put it in mail for her? Sister had to know this would cause blowback. That's why she never said this stuff when she was alive. She selfishly put Opie in a position to take the heat, and there was no reason for this. Opie, be kind to yourself. You haven't done anything wrong. Not day home. First off, I just want to say that I'm truly sorry for your loss, and that you were having to deal with this stupidity while you grieve. You carried out Sister's final wishes. You had nothing to do with what she said or how she felt. Your father and stepmom are major a-holes, though. I understand that they are grieving as well, but to take that out on you is disgusting. They should really be taking the time to evaluate their own actions and try to understand what they did to make your sister feel the way that she did. Don't feel bad about anything regarding this situation. You were not at fault and you did nothing wrong. Info. I feel like there's got to be more to this story. Like, what's your stepmom like? Why did your sister dislike her so much? I have an issue with how strict she can be, and how she expected us to follow her rules when we were at home with our mom. I don't hate her though, but my sister had much deeper issues with her that I'm not even sure of why. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to be a surrogate for my sister-in-law because of vanity? I, 25 female, used to be so close with my sister-in-law. My brother and I were close growing up, and when he started dating and eventually met his now wife almost 6 years ago, I was thrilled because she is an amazing woman who brings out the best in him. She has also supported me in coming out to my family as a lesbian, being the first to proudly display her support, and she makes my brother happier than I have ever seen him. I say all of this because the turn of events has left me entirely distressed. For the past 3 years after they got married, they have been trying to get pregnant. They got some medical procedures done, and eventually learned one of them is infertile. Since then, they have been looking into alternatives. One of them was surrogacy. Last month, I was on call with my brother and his wife when they started to very subtly hint that surrogacy is expensive, and they were sure that they wanted a biological child to be related to at least one of them. My brother suggested maybe they could find someone within the family willing to volunteer. I wished them luck, and they both kinda stared at me, and then it clicked. I immediately said I would not be their surrogate. I loved them and felt for them, but I was never going to get pregnant ever. They seemed disappointed, but moved on. Ever since, they have been bugging me, dropping hints, but I have always disengaged or cut them off sharply on the topic. Then 3 days ago, my sister-in-law and I went to our downtown area for book shopping, and I made it clear to her that I would not discuss surrogacy with her or I would leave. We passed by a clothing shop with a toddler mannequin, and she broke down and eventually snapped at me why I wouldn't do this one thing for her and my brother. And this is where I may be the a-hole. I have low self-confidence in how I look, and I always have. I am on the curvy side of body shaping, leaning towards heavier build, and I hate it. I've never felt beautiful in my life. I know pregnancy absolutely destroys women's bodies, and I'm only barely beginning to feel good when I see my reflection. I know that a pregnancy would absolutely destroy that. I lost my temper when she started begging, and yelled at her that I would not be destroying my self-confidence for her and my brother, and stormed off. We drove in separate cars. I feel bad because I know that they really want a family, and I do love my sister-in-law, but I just cannot do this for them. They have been calling and texting, but I haven't answered. There are other reasons, but this is the big one and what I said specifically in this situation. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add. Okay, because I saw this in the comments a couple of times and I also realized how gross this sounded without clarification. My brother is the one who cannot have children. Sister-in-law is worried about how my brother would feel if she got pregnant by another man because he was cheated on by a previous flame. It was a big thing that nearly destroyed him until he met my sister-in-law. And he has admitted in the past that he could not handle it if she was carrying another man's child. Saying that makes me realize that they sound even more a-holish. I will be speaking to them after I have a few more days to calm down and gather some research and then speaking to them about this. I will make sure to include laws and details about surrogacy, and I will tell them that I am willing to help them look into adoption. But after the harassment, I do not think I would be a good person for a character witness if they choose to go that route. No matter how this talk goes, I will be taking a step back from my relationship with them. Thank you for all the prompt advice and support. Now for the comments. Not a-hole. Professional agencies wouldn't even let you do it. They want surrogates to have already given birth before because only those women really understand the commitment being made. To be clear, even if you already had a child, you'd still be not a-hole for refusing. Surrogacy is such a big deal that surrogates are paid $30,000 or more. Someone asking for a $30,000 favor is a lot, and they should be fully prepared to hear no. Not a-hole. Being a surrogate is a giant task. You have to have the right frame of mind for it most of all. There is a reason why it is so expensive. And honestly, if you have body-related issues, you probably wouldn't pass to be a paid surrogate, like an official one, anyways. Giving the gift of a child is the biggest physical and mental thing a woman can be asked to do. And no woman should ever be forced, coerced, guilted into doing so regardless of the situation. It is not your responsibility to supply your brother and sister-in-law with children. They are not a-holes for asking, but they are for pushing.